back, everyone. Today we're going to continue our cutting compound series. Today in particular, we're going to take a look at the last cut. Now, so far we have 3D HD Cut Plus holding on to gold. We have Ardex Silver, CarPro Clear Cut holding on to bronze. Honorable mention goes to Atoms. Again, very early on, this is going to change numerous times. I'm really looking forward to finishing out the series. Keep in mind, this table here may change for those of you who are not shielded by direct sunlight, extreme heat. I'm out of the elements in a controlled environment doing this testing, so this table may change slightly for some of you out there. Also keep in mind, if you are not concerned with price whatsoever, this may change. And also you could take any one of these, put them on a board, throw a dart at it, purchase it, and it would work fine for you. So let's continue on and take a look at the last cut. The last cut compound glaze comes in two sizes, 16 ounce and 32 ounce. The 16 ounce is $28.99. The 32 ounce comes in at $54.99, which may hurt it in final rankings as everything is taken into consideration. No glaze, no fillers, low dusting, long working time. It's meant as an all-in-one, being able to go after some harsh blemishes all the way down to being able to finish. The all-in-one compounds usually get the reputation of jack of all trades but master of none. I have worked with the product before. It does well with medium grade blemishes down to finish. So we're going to test it here all the way down to 800 grit sandpaper. I'm starting here with 2500. This section here, 2000. We have yet to see a compound that has had trouble with this section here, but we may. This section here, 1500 grit, there will be some compounds that start to struggle just a little bit in this area here. This section here, the 1000 grit, is where just about all the compounds will start to struggle. It's fascinating to see some of the really good compounds correct this section down to just maybe 2 or 3 deep scratches. But when we get to the next section here, the 800 grit, this is the impossible section here for most compounds, but it is still fun to see how much of the area these compounds can correct. I'll clean off each section, remove the tape, and then we'll move on to testing. I also want to add, I do testing on 4 different panels, and as you see here, most of the panels will have marks where you'll see it's been either rubbed through or buffed through or sanded through, as I have done testing with both PPG Diamond Clear and also Global 1K clear coats. All these panels will have the same clear coat that we're testing on. They may be different sizes and colors, but they will be the same finish. So, as I always do, I pour a little bit of the product on the fender, and I can feel just a little bit of the grit, but not as much as some of the other polishes. I've noticed if I feel a real heavy grit, we're going to have heavy dusting. I don't feel that here. Okay, just like the other videos, I'm going to spread out the product an even amount all the way down through on each section. And then I will begin to take a slow, steady run from the 2500 grit all the way down through the 800 grit and back. Slow, exaggerated arm movement. Same medium pressure, same speed, exact same Flex XFE 3-inch polisher, and the exact same cookie cutter-like orange foam cutting pads. We don't want to put anything aggressive on the panel, as I want to let these compounds take the shoulder of the work. I have had some requests to start at the 800 grit section, but I have the same amount of product spread all the way through all sections. It really doesn't matter which area I start in. Where I end up is going to have the same amount of product, the same amount of cut compound, and I make a return trip. So each section gets 2 trips, forward and backward. polisher is held the exact same way each test, and each test the panel gets the same amount of pressure for what I can apply with my thumb. I'll cradle the polisher with my right hand, the left hand is just guiding it, making sure it doesn't jump, and pressing a little bit down with my thumb. Keep in mind, I'm not doing this test in a vacuum wearing a lab coat. This isn't an exact science, but I wanted to let you guys see how each of these compounds work, cut, dust. You get to see how long they work, how hard it is to remove the residue, and maybe it'll give you an idea if you want to look into it further. Alright, we're finished here. Again, never lift your polisher until the rotation and oscillation stops completely. It's easier on your polish and a lot easier on your pads. So let me grab the camera, bring you in close. It has some decent working time. You see here it has plenty of lubrication left for a couple more passes. Dusting is very, very low. Only up here at the other end when I make a return trip do you actually see a little bit accumulating. All right, next test, we want to see how hard it is to remove the spent compound or any residue, and it's no effort whatsoever, really. And like our previous tests, we will go from one section to another and see how the last cut has performed. It's absolutely blazed through the 2500 grit and the 2000 grit marks. It's when I get to the 1500 grit and inspect it, I could see one or two areas where some of the harder cut or heavier cut compounds go through it like butter. When we get to the 1000 grit, there are some significant marks left behind, but it still did a good job. And when we get to the ridiculous 800, it really struggled. This section here, we're only looking for slight improvement, but where some of the compounds really started to make significant gains. If you've been following the series, you've seen some compounds blaze through the section with 1000 grit sandpaper marks. This here does finish down very well, very low dusting, good working time. However, we're not done yet. I'm going to take the last two sections, as I usually do. I'm going to take my time, do a crisscross pattern, really let those abrasives diminish, see how long I can work it, see what kind of dusting we have, and see what kind of lubrication we have left over. Then, after the residue is removed, we'll get to see if the last cut made some more progression on those two sections, the 1000 and the 800 grit. Okay, that's going to do it. Let me set the polisher down, give me a minute to grab the camera, and I'll bring you in. We still have plenty of lubrication to work with. Dusting is minimal to none at all. Now I'm going to remove the residue, and we'll see if it's made any progression on those marks. Okay, so it has made some progression, but not quite as much as the heavy hitters designed specifically for heavier defects like this. Keep in mind this is an all-in-one. It did okay. Okay, that was the last cut. Again, I will put a link down below if you want to look into it further. This compound here isn't just a niche compound, in other words, centered for just being a heavy cut or a medium cut or an ultra cut. It's meant to be an all-in-one. It's meant to do well. It's meant to do good in all of those as you adjust your pad to the compound. Low dusting, long working time. However, like I said before, I include absolutely everything into the testing and into judging these compounds, and I have to include price. And with the price of a 16 and a 32 ounce, it's going to end up being in the honorable mention right below clear cut at silver. Again, you could take any one of these if you're not interested or not worried about price whatsoever. Throw a dart at it, and it would work absolutely fine for your needs. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate. Brian from Apex Detail. See you in the next video.